Hi everyone, welcome to Educately Geography. Whether you're learning about geography from scratch or you're just here to review a couple key details, we're happy to have you. And we hope that you can expand your knowledge about the subject by watching our videos. Today we're going to introduce the basic details about geography as well as this course here at Educately. But first, we've got some memes for you, just to lighten the mood a little bit. This first one really just explains the truth behind geography. You'll notice after you take this course that geography is truly all around us. It's relevant in so many aspects of our daily lives. And the second one is it's that I just thought it was funny, it's just a heartfelt welcome from the team here. Like he's wearing a map on his head, it was funny and interesting, and also it was just related to geography, so yeah. Before we dive into things today, let's just quickly go over what we're going to cover in today's video. To begin, we're going to explain what geography is. It's important that you know what exactly you're going into when studying any subject. We'll also talk about why it's important to study geography. Trust me, even though you might think a lot of what you learn in school is useless, geography has a ton of applications. Additionally, we'll mention how geography connects to our daily life, or to our daily lives. So much of what you'll learn with us here at Educately ties right back to the things you do and the decisions you make, sometimes on a daily basis. And finally, we'll offer a brief overview of the things you'll learn with us over the course of this series, especially in future videos. But first, you might be wondering, what is geography? I know it's a basic question, but it's important to understand what it truly is. Um, there are really two parts to that definition. Geography first can be described as the study of Earth's physical features, which includes continents, biomes, other land masses. But there's also a second part that a lot of schools go into, and it's the relationship between those places and humans. And yeah, that's a lot of what you learn in geography is actually about that second part. It's going to be tying things back to humanity itself. But why does this matter? Like, why do so many schools even bother to study geography? Well, I mean, there's numerous reasons for that. First, we study geography to recognize the different land masses on our planet, and that's important because if you want to be a politically involved, a politically active citizen, you have to understand geography and where different countries, different continents lie. It's just good general knowledge to have. We study it to see how life is adapted to different biomes. This is especially true today, where today, a lot of animal species, as you know, they're becoming endangered as a result of climate change and pollution. If we want to fix those problems, it's important to understand the relationships between the environment and different animals. We also study it to understand how Earth's physical features have impacted humans. Over the course of history, humans have adapted. They've adapted to what's around them. For instance, 10,000 years ago, you might know humans, they were hunter-gatherers. They were essentially nomads that just traveled around wherever they could find resources. That's an example of how they adapted to what was around them. And another example can be seen with European explorers. Just 500, 600 years ago, they were looking for the resources. And one of the reasons they were exploring the world was because they were looking for resources that were only available in places outside of Europe. And that can be seen as an example of how geography has impacted humans. They couldn't find resources in the places that they live, so they sought to exploit them in other locations. We also study it to learn how humans have impacted their surroundings. This ties back into the idea of climate change, pollution, and how humans have been negatively impacting these ecosystems. And it's important to know this because if we want to fix those problems, we have to understand how they started, and we can't expect to fix them if we don't see the consequences and what humans have been doing. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. You'd be surprised by the number of adults that can't point to Russia, China, or even whole continents like Africa on a map. And it's hard to be a politically active citizen and a politically smart citizen. You won't know much about global problems if you don't understand simple geography. It's just the truth. A lot of conflicts that have started throughout history, and even conflicts that are happening today, are happening as a result of border disputes and things that you wouldn't understand unless you had a basic knowledge of geography. And no, the world is not flat. Just putting that out there. What impact does geography have on our daily lives? I mean, it has a profound impact, and here are quite a few examples. First of all, our surroundings change the way we live, and for instance, the climate we're used to. If you live in Florida or any warm place, you're going to be used to sunny, warm days, maybe rainy days, compared to someone who lives in the Arctic. Those people are going to be more used to snowy weather and just, in general, a more cold, unforgiving climate. Also, local weather patterns, I just mentioned this. You might be more used to snow than your friend who lives near the beach, like 200 miles south. The food we eat, this is a big one. Different cultures have developed different cuisines based on the resources that were around them. Nowadays you in your town you might have an Italian restaurant, Mexican restaurant. You might have all sorts of different cuisines available in your town alone because of how globalized food production has become. You can order food from pretty much anywhere in the world these days. But a long time ago it wasn't like that. In different cultures they only could eat what was around them. What we do for fun, this ties back to where you live. It's if you live near the mountains, you might like skiing more than and snowboarding more than your friend who lives near the beach. And those people might be into they might be into like surfboarding or swimming on the beach more than you are. A lot of the decisions we make are rooted in geography. For instance, where we live, most of us, I would imagine, would probably want to live somewhere that is comfortable, nice weather, just overall more comfortable than like the Sahara Desert, someplace that's 120 degrees every day. On a more local level, you'd probably choose neighborhoods that, like, depending on factors like costs, safety, schools available, compared to other ones that you like can't afford, for instance, or places that seem dangerous. Also, where we go on vacation, most of the time, if you're looking for a place to go on vacation, you have something in mind before you call your travel agent or you book something on Expedia. Say if you're like into beaches, you would just book someplace based on like what you can afford. That has nice beaches, So yeah, because this is what we want. Like I like beaches a lot more than like going to the mountains, so I would book a vacation to the beaches over the Rocky Mountains, for instance. We've got some more examples. We use the same tools as geographers in order to explore the world. For instance, globes. Most of you have probably been in a classroom at some point in your academic careers that have had a globe. I remember I had one in my elementary school classroom. I just play around on that, spin it around. Compasses. This one, you might not use it on a daily basis, but most of us have a compass app. If you do have a phone, you probably have a compass app on it. And you might, unless you go hiking, you probably don't use it, but it's fun to like play around with it. Geographers do use compasses. GPS, this one you probably use the most often. If you're going to a place you've never been to, you don't know the directions to like your friend's house, you just turn on Google Maps, MapQuest, just anything that like gives you directions to that location. And GPS is kind of based on maps. This is obviously what historically geographers have been relying on. Geographers haven't always had GPS systems, so maps are more related to geography. And if you're older, like you likely know how to use a map, but it's probably something you would rely on less often these days compared to GPS. Okay, so to conclude today, we're just going to talk about what you're going to learn in this course here with us at Educately. First, you're going to learn about the tools used by geographers. We just mentioned some of these. We're going to talk about how you use these tools, not just what they are, and how they have historically helped geographers. We're going to talk about Earth's physical features, so biomes, landmasses, landscapes, etc. We're going to talk about how humans interact with their environment. This is a big one. I mentioned this earlier. This is going to talk about certain cultures and how they've been modified and how they've adapted to their surroundings. We'll also likely talk about climate change, pollution, other modern problems beyond those cultures. And speaking of cultures, we're going to talk about unique cultures and how they've developed in different locations, different civilizations, and different countries' government and economic systems. Not necessarily, we're not going to like tell you to memorize the government and economic system in every country in the world. That's not something you would likely cover at this level of your lives, but we're mostly just going to talk about different forms of government, different forms of economies. For instance, government, there's the difference between like a democracy and, say, a dictatorship. It's just different types of government, like where they're most notably situated. And yeah, that wraps it up for today. Look out for future videos on our website where we'll go into greater depth about the topics we just introduced. For more information, assistance, and other subjects, feel free to browse our site. We have plenty of subjects here at Educately, targeted mostly for younger middle school audiences, but it can truly help anyone. Have a nice day, and thanks for watching today.